Hello again, friends and loyal Wolfpack members. Chaos Wolf here, and welcome back to Into the Black. This series where we just fly around whilst exploring and just talk about random stuff. As you can see here, we've made planetfall on a very nice looking ringed planet. Now, there's not really much on this planet at all because we have gone and travelled a good way away from civilized space. I mean, let's go and have a look at our starting location. As you can see, it's a good distance off. We're currently 2,000 light years away from where we first started off on our way towards the Lagoon Nebula. As you can see, we've recently made it to our second waypoint. We have 3 more waypoints to go until we get to where we're going. So enough dilly-dallying, let's go and get our butts into gear.
Landing gear retracted.
And get off of this planet. Now this planet is very, very nice to look at. Although it was a little bit difficult to land because I didn't realise that it was actually over 1 G. It's 1.39 Gs. So nearly 1.5 times the gravity of Earth. So it was a little bit more of a pulley effect when we were coming down. The ground was very, very eager to meet us. Thankfully, we did not take any hull damage, so we are still good to go. But as you can see, our jump point is over on the far side of the planet, so we're going to need to go and jump into Super Cruise first before we can go and continue on our way. Now, as much as I love making these Into the Black videos, this originally was supposed to be a Solace Project video. The problem is that all of a sudden my virus protection has decided that the part of the Solace Project is now a Trojan horse, and it's stopping me from actually playing the game. Now, I'm pretty sure that in the near future I'm going to be able to figure this out and work out what the hell is going on. But until then, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to play the Solace Project. So you're going to have to just make do with a video of Into the Black. Now, I did recently make another video of Planet Base as well, which was going quite well. Although we do seem to be in a little bit of a pickle towards the end with our food dwindling quite drastically. Whether or not we actually manage to survive is going to be another issue, and that's going to be explored in the next video. But yeah, oh well. At least for now, in Elite we are doing fairly well, and I really do like this ringed planet. Now, let's go and see. How far do we have to go around? There we go, we can actually go and jump into our next system. So this is nice, but let's just make sure that we are far enough away from the orbital cruise point so that we won't potentially get back into mass lock, but I think we're going to be okay. So let's go. There we go. We're off to the next system. Now, at the moment, we're not really finding any systems that are undiscovered. Virtually everything that we're finding at the moment has been found by somebody else. Why is this? This is because we basically just decided to go straight from the bubble to the Lagoon Nebula. And this is a very well-trodden road. So we really need to go and find a road a little less well-trodden in the end. But I suppose we can do that on the way back. Well, really depends on whether we want to do that or not. But let's go and have a look at this system. What we got here? Again, almost everything here has been discovered previously, apart from these two on the end. Now I suspect, if we go and have a look, these are going to be a good ways off. Yep, they're 66,000 light seconds away. But you know what, bugger it. We'll go and get Mal Reynolds' name on at least a couple of stars out here. Now I think we've probably gone and gotten potentially our names on a few others, but I don't really remember, because it's quite a time between each of these play sessions. But anyway, let's go and get closer and get these stars scanned. Right, so we're now finally close enough to be able to scan these twin stars. Now, they're nothing really special. They're actually both a pair of red dwarves. But at the very least, they are undiscovered, and they're going to get us that 50% extra discovery bonus. And not only that, we're going to go and get Commander Mal Reynolds' name down in Elite Dangerous Infamy for finding these stars. Because I don't doubt that there's going to be somebody coming through this system within the near future that will go and see those stars. I mean, let's have a quick look before we jump out. Well, we've got this one discovered by Zela501. This one is Zelian Feyre. Funny how those are very similarly sounding names, but they're spelt so differently. And then these two will both be found by Commander Mal Reynolds. That'll be really nice. Now, I'm hoping nobody's found these beforehand, but only time will tell, because I suspect it's going to be a good long while before we finally get our butts back into civilized space. Because, you know, they can't take the sky from us. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see, just to see how long it's going to take us to get back to civilized space. And speaking of civilized space, or potentially maybe not, there has been a little bit of, well, there's been a few people getting a little bit annoyed with me on the Frontier forums. Because I've been posting some, well, all of my ship reviews on the Frontier forums, under the Ships of Elite section. The problem is that I kind of gave every single ship its individual thread in one page. So I kind of may have hijacked the entire page. Or at least most of it. In my defense, I didn't realise this was not the done thing, because I kind of have not been using the forums ever. I don't use the forums. I don't know, I just don't like forums. And I usually go and just post my videos, pictures and so on Facebook or Twitter. And I was operating personally off the same mentality, like, okay, one post here, one post there, individual posts for different things, kind of thing. But apparently people have been calling it a little bit spammy and I'm getting a little bit annoyed. Although apparently I've lost a couple of subscribers from this, but I'm not overly worried if this is enough to trigger them to unsubscribing to me. But again, apologies, I didn't really realise that this was not the done thing. And I've actually stopped posting things on the forums for the time being, just until I can work out the best way of doing things. Because like I said, I've never really used the forums before. I've made the odd post, yes. But according to my forum stats right now, I'm currently classed as above average, which just means I've made more than the average amount of posts. But that certainly doesn't mean that I'm anywhere near being a trusted poster. So it's not letting me actually put my tutorials and so in there. So I'm going to have to look into this. Maybe I can talk to Ed or Zach about potentially working this out. But before I do that, I do really need to work out the best way of doing this. Just because, like I said, I really had any expertise at all in this. But not only this, I've also started posting on to Reddit a little bit, although it's very, very minor the amount of things I've been posting there. Ooh, look at these. I really do like these style of planets. They are really nice. The jet black with the glowing red magma. I really do like those. But I suspect virtually everything in this... Oh, the planets haven't been discovered. Well, the moons, I should say. But I'm not overly fussed about the moons. Oh well. But let's carry on to the next system, which is again on the opposite far side of the star. We've scooped up, we're good to go. We just need to go and circumvent around, well, circumnavigate the star. Wow, it's kind of a fancy way of just saying get around it to get to the other side. But yeah, no, it has been noted before that I am, well, technically I'm the second largest Elite Dangerous YouTuber. At least I believe I am. I'm pretty sure I'm larger than Isnoda now, because I'm pretty sure he's kind of faded off now. But the largest is Obsidian Ant, and then there's me, trailing in second, about less than half the amount of subscribers. Now, I do wonder whether this is because I'm just so kind of lacking. Oh, and I just noticed there's an undiscovered signal source, unidentified signal source even. And too late, we'd already started jumping to the next system, so we couldn't really do anything about it. I was going to be really curious as to what that might have been. But I am wondering as to whether or not it's just because I've not had any presence on the forums or on Reddit at all, because I just don't really like going onto these places. Just because they're new and scary places that I'm not used to. But I'll be honest, if it's sitting and can go there, I can do it. But I just need to work out a better way of doing the forums, really. And I suppose I've got to go and get my rank up on the forums to be able to go and do more, because it's not going to let me do as much as I'd like. But oh well. I really wouldn't mind getting somebody on staff, so to speak, that would actually go and do this for me, because I really don't like doing this kind of thing. Wait a sec. Huh. Okay. This system has not been discovered virtually at all, but I'm thinking of taking a look at this planet, because I suspect this is actually going to be a water world. But before anything else, we need to go and target this one, because we'll start scanning that way before we'll scan anything else around that star. Now I suspect we're going to have to close to around about 2,000 light seconds in order to actually be able to start scanning, depending on the size of the star. But anyway guys, what do you think? Would it be useful for me to get someone to actually just advertise my videos for me on Reddit and the forums, or at least just post them so that they can be seen by a wider audience? Because I'm really not very good at doing that kind of thing. I don't know. Usually with my videos, as you can probably tell, I ad-lib a lot of it. I just start recording, start talking, and then edit out all my screw-ups with the power of editing to make myself seem that much better. No, I generally leave the big screw-ups in there. Or by accident leave in these screw-ups, as with my Cobra Mark IV video. I think it was my stock Cobra Mark IV video, either that or the A-rated. I don't really remember, but I left up some massive screw-ups in the beginning by accident. Although a lot of people thought that was hilarious and it was one of the best things that had happened. It's like, alright, fine, I'm not complaining. Maybe I'll start leaving a few more in on purpose. But yeah, I really do want to start getting my content out to a much wider audience, because at the moment I'm only really using Facebook. And, well, Facebook and Twitter, let's say. Now originally I'd never have touched Twitter with a 10-foot cattle prod, but it's kind of become more of a necessity to do so. Oh no, I was wrong, it's about 4,000 light seconds. Maybe a little bit less. But it's become more of a necessity to actually go and advertise things. I've recently hit 800 followers on Twitter, which is really nice. In fact, I'm actually pretty sure I'm way over that now. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, let's have a look. Oh yeah, according to this, I now have 827 followers, which is really nice. I mean, I didn't realise 800 was such a big deal on Twitter, or even if it is a big deal, but I got a notification from Twitter saying, oh, congratulations, you've hit 800 followers. I'm like, okay, thanks. Not sure if it's such a big deal, but okay, I'll settle for that. So that was kind of cool. Right, now we've gone and got that star. Now, where was that planet that I wanted to look at? It was this one. So where's that one? That's this one right here. Okay. Now, it's not landable because it's got an atmosphere. Now, what I'm hoping is that it's going to be a terraformable water world. If that's the case, then that's actually really nice to have. Because terraformable water worlds are worth quite a pretty penny. But getting back to the previous topic, I really, like I said, ooh, what have we got? Unidentified signal source. Let's quickly check what that is first. Degraded emissions. Alright, threat level 0. Let's go and have a quick look. Maybe we can find something to scavenge, even though we don't have any cargo space at all. I'm just rather curious as to what's going to be in here. We might get lucky and find some engineering materials. Now this is where I really hope that this isn't lying to me and it's actually going to be something really deadly. What have we got? Okay, we've got a survey data cache, and that's it. It would appear. Anything else around? Well, we've got the remains of a destroyed ship. I mean, let's fly through the debris field. We can't really see it all that well. And let's turn around and have the light of the star behind us. There we go. We can see that a little bit better now. I mean, what kind of ship was this? Let's get a bit of a closer look. Can't really tell overly much. Oh, right, okay. That looks like an orca. Yeah, it looks like this was an orca. Because the amount of curves on this ship looks like it was definitely an orca. It looks like it's been here for a long time. Okay. I wonder what happened to it. The poor souls. Oh, except this looks more like an Anaconda piece as well. So we've got pieces of two distinct ships, Anaconda and Orca. Let's illuminate these ghosts of the void. What would have happened to them? Like you can see, it looks like they've been here for a long time. So it looks like I'd say it looks like they've corroded, but I don't believe objects go and corrode out in the vacuum. Maybe it's corrosion from the solar winds or the solar radiation, perhaps. Yeah, another piece, and I would hazard a guess that this looks like a piece off an Anaconda, potentially. Maybe a rear fin or something. But I'm pretty sure, like I said, this is two distinct ships here. An Anaconda and an Orca. Maybe a celebrity and a bodyguard? Potentially? I don't know. Now let's have a look at this piece here quickly. Yeah, well, it's definitely a piece off an Anaconda. That's the rear section of the ship. Now, where's that piece that looked like it came from an Orca? It's not this piece, is it? Really? Yeah, I think this was it, actually. There we go. This is actually it. This is actually the piece off the Orca. You can tell because that's the big-ass panel at the front where the glass goes in. And it's weird how that keeps changing. But maybe it isn't actually part of an Orca. Maybe it is something else and maybe I'm just reading it wrong. Oh well. Let's get out of this graveyard. And let's go and continue on to have a look at this planet. So lights off, let's get back into Super Cruise, because it's not like we can do anything with those survey caches anyway. If we could find anything like floating modules, or well, not exactly floating modules, but floating materials in space, then that would be nice. But it's really creepy when you just find those objects floating in space. You don't really know what happened to them. I'd love to be able to find out one of these days. Maybe if we had the opportunity to actually find black boxes and discern what is coded in them. That'd be awesome. Now let's see. Oh, it's a high metal content world. Alright, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll scan the little moon while I'm at it. So let's go and have a look here. No, it is not... It's not terraformable, but it may just very well be that it's way too cold. It is distinctly possible. Well, we've scanned the star, and we've scanned the high metal content world. So I think what we want to go and do is just carry on working our way to the next waypoint. Because, like I said, it's been a while. It's taken us a good long while in order to get this 2,000 light years. Because I usually only play this account whilst recording, although I did recently spend a little bit of time until we got and found that ringed landable planet, because I could not pass up the desire to go and land on that planet. Because it just looked so nice. I was just happy that when we came back to it, it was still in the daylight. So I'm really hoping that... I'm kind of potentially thinking it may actually have been tidally locked, so it was always facing that way. Now, let's go and carry on scanning whilst we're scooping. Now, at this altitude, well, this distance away from the star, I should say, I don't think altitude's quite the right term for this. But we should... Ah, there's nothing in the system. We should be able to scan very easily and also scoop very easily. Well, there's nothing else in the system, so let's just quickly move on. We've scanned the star. That's going to give us a little bit of a boost to our exploration data. Because I really do want to get a good amount of exploration data when we get back to the... back to the habitable bubble. And I just realised I was still locked onto the star, so every time I was turning around, I was actually facing it rather than the next system. But we want to get a good amount of money, because what we want to do is we want to go and unlock some of the engineers, like Felicity Farsi and Elvira Martouk. But we also want to go and buy a new ship with the money we get from this exploration data, as well as go and modify it up for a better jump range, so we can go and spend a greater time, or a longer time, out in the void. Now, the next ship I'm planning to go and pick up is a Downback Explorer, just because I'm really wanting to go and see how well that's going to go. And what I'm thinking is we might try having the Downback Explorer without an AFM or an auto field maintenance unit, so we don't need to, so we won't end up going and yeah, we're going way too close to this star, so let's actually back off away from it. Didn't realise I'd gotten that close. Well, let's slow down, turn around and scan this star whilst we go and take a look at the system map. But the thing is, with the Downback Explorers, it has such an amazing... what does it do? It's an amazing heat dispersion rating, so it dissipates heat so fast from the ship, which makes it an ideal explorer. I mean, I did go out exploring it in the Downback Explorer about a year back, and the ship itself never overheated on me. Not even once. Oh, okay. Somebody's missed out one planet here and one moon. So everything else they've scanned. They've just not scanned that one and this one. Alright, okay. Now, these I know are going to be just either rocky or ice world, so then they're going to be worth virtually nothing. So we're not going to go and bother scanning them. We could go and drive around. Well, actually, we can't even go and drive around them because we don't have an SRV bay. But that's one thing I do want to get in the Downback Explorer. And normally we wouldn't be able to do this, but like I said, I'm thinking about dropping the autofield maintenance unit. Now, normally autofield maintenance units are going to be very, very useful if you muck up and end up taking heat damage to your ship. But as I previously said, the Downback Explorer has a really good heat dispersion rating, so it gets rid of heat really efficiently. I am also planning to modify the ship up to make it so that it dissipates heat very, very fast. Even faster than it normally would. Even faster than it normally would, so that's going to be really interesting whether or not we're actually going to be able to pull that off. And if we do, that means we're going to be able to take an SRV bay, not worry about the autofield maintenance unit, so not have to worry about the auto repairs. Well, let's see what we got on here. Oh, quite a few unexplored stars. Now I do wonder how far these are away from our current location. We've scanned that one now. So how far is this away? 36,000 light years, light seconds even. Now we can go and have a look at that one. I think this one may... Yeah, I think these two are actually orbiting one another. So let's see, we've got that one, and we have this one. That's another 36,000. We've got another one there, which may be another star. Not sure. How many stars do we have in this system? Was it 3 or 4? It's 3. So, I wonder what that one is. Let's go and target that one, see how far that one is away. Again, it's 36,000 light seconds. So let's have a look over. It is that one there. So that's 36. Yeah. This one's actually ever so slightly closer. It's about a couple of hundred light seconds to 1,000 light seconds closer. So we'll go and scan this one first. Now, potentially, as we are travelling in, some of these planets may be terraformable. But they look like they're not actually orbiting anything. They're kind of just like free roaming around the entire system. They're not orbiting. It seems like they're orbiting all three of these solar masses, just not any one individually. Because as we can see here, these three are actually orbiting this particular star. And this one is orbiting this particular star. But this one, this set of planets and moons, just seems to be orbiting the whole as general, which is what I believe this little cross means here. It means it's not orbiting anything in particular, but it is actually orbiting all of them in general. So I suspect these are actually a good distance out from the rest of the stars. So they may be terraformable, they very well maybe not. I guess we'll have to find out when we get in close. Now a couple of them are landable, but there's nothing that appears to be too significant about these. Now, we may be able to find materials for a frameshift drive injection, but I'm not overly worried about that kind of thing right now. Alright, so that's these two scanned, at least the two stars. Now, I do believe they are both Class A. Yes, they are in fact actually both Class M stars. Now, let's actually go and have a look at some of these kind of interesting looking planets here. Now, and they do seem to be orbiting, actually, just these two stars, potentially. Perhaps it doesn't actually... It seems that, in fact, they don't actually go and orbit the whole of the stars. It's just these two. Which I find rather confusing in a way, but yeah, oh well. Not confusing is the fact that how they go and orbit, but just the way it was depicted on the system map. Oh well, I do believe that this current system map is only a stand-in until we get a better one anyway. Because during early development there was a very different appearance for the system map. Now I know roughly what it looked like, but I can't really... I never really got a proper good look at it, at least as far as I remember. But Frontier have said that they are thinking of changing the galaxy map anyway, and what we kind of have is somewhat of just a stand-in. Now I guess we're going to have to wait and see when that is going to go and come along, because it's not going to be one of those big updates like what we're getting soon with the 2.3 update, which is going to be the Commander's update, where we get both the multi-crew and the Commander creator, which I'm really looking forward to. Now, if you haven't caught it already, the beta for this is going to be starting the week ending being the optimal word here, the 26th of February. So it's going to be starting from any time from the 19th, I believe, maybe the 18th, maybe the 20th. Right, so that's a rocky ice world. So I seriously, with that being the closest one to them, I seriously doubt that any of these are going to be terraformable. Because that's certainly not terraformable. Let's just quickly scan this one, see if this one is also a similar deal. And then we can go and move on. But yes, as the name implies, we're going to be able to be having the ability to actually go and sit in other commanders' ships, really. I mean, we're not going to have the option to do that in the hauler here, because the hauler here is a dedicated one pilot ship. It's basically all this ship is a small cockpit strapped to 2 engines and a cargo bay, and that's it. There's nothing else that we can do with this ship. But ships as from the Adder, I think the Adder is the smallest and cheapest of the multi-role ships. So you're going to in fact be able to have a gunner in those seats as well. So that's going to be very interesting. The Cobra is going to be a similar one. The Vulture, the Vipers are again single player ships, as are, it's very similar to the Eagle. Yeah, it looks like we're coming in a little bit quick. Maybe we're going to be able to scan it before we pass by. Yes, we are. Oh, good. And again, it's a rocky ice world. But I think, you know what? Let's go and move on to the next system and find out what we got there.
Frameshift drive charging.
And I'm really looking forward to at the very least, a beta to start with, because there's been a lot of things talking about the proposed changes or the way they're going to have things happen, like the instant transfer from jumping from your ship to a friend's ship regardless of where you are in the galaxy. And I'm kind of guessing we're going to be having another issue with that, as we kind of did with the instant ship transfers, and now that they're no longer instant, well, they do take time. But the thing is, I do find that no matter what Frontier does, they're going to be upsetting one part of the demographic. Because you're going to have the really casual players that don't want to wait around for things, and then you're going to have the immersion Nazis that want to have this game be as realistic as possible, regardless of it actually being a game. But I can see the benefits from both sides of this, really. And again, it doesn't look like there's a great deal of anything of interest in the system. There's not a lot that's been scanned, but I'm not overly worried about it. So in fact, we're actually just going to go and carry on moving on. We're full of fuel now, so we can quite happily move on. But I think that's going to be it for this particular video. I mean, we've covered a bunch of topics. Let me know what you think about these down in the comments, as always, and I'll do my level best to get back to any of you, as many of you as I can, even. But as always, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. Neither of those good enough for you, that's what the comments are for. But anyway, I've been Commander Chaos Wolf from Sci-Fi Gaming. You guys, as always, have been epic. I will see you soon. And until next time, my fellow commanders, keep flying and stay shiny.